Hello, hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, my favorite day, because we get to come to you bringing these amazing facts. Normally, we come to you and we bring you a fabulous place where we have global luxury listings and some of the most impressive lifestyle buys that exist out there. But this week, Stephanie Gillison, and my partner in crime, Hannah Maverick, we're going to do something special for you, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to turn it over to Hannah, and we're going to dive right in. Hannah?
Yes, today's topic is something I was very excited about because every buyer in real estate struggles with this. Whether you're purchasing the home for investment or because you just really like it. And the truth is, these decisions are somewhere in the middle, right? So today we're unpacking how to balance the emotional side of buying with the financial logic behind that good investment. So, Stephanie, I know you are the best person to talk to about the subject. So let's start simple. How do you personally define a lifestyle buyer versus an investment buyer? And where do most people actually fall on that spectrum?
Oh, well, that's a broad question, but I tell you what, this is a question in all real estate, whether you're talking about global luxury, which is what Airdomo specializes in, or real estate right here at home. A lifestyle buyer is chasing a feeling. You're chasing the view, the vibe, the way that the property makes their shoulders drop at the second they walk in, or it makes your stomach feel right when you take a look. Okay. An investment buyer, they're chasing the metrics, right? They want to know that ROI, the return on investment. They want to know the appreciation factor, the rental absorption, and that long-term exit strategies. So it's a little bit of a different, they're not so much worried about that feeling that they feel. They may not even want to go look at the property, right? But here's the real truth. Most people aren't purely one or the other. They walk in thinking they're analytical until they see that ocean view at sunset. Then all of a sudden, they're the emotional buyer, right? I'm guilty, you all, totally guilty. And if my husband's watching, Sam, he's really guilty of this. The opposite always happens when people fall in love with a villa or a house, right? But here's the deal, when the numbers don't make sense, they start talking like Wall Street, right? And so you've got to do your investigation. So almost everyone ends up somewhere in the middle without even realizing it. So that's what's phenomenal about having people like us. We're those mediators that keeps your head balanced. Make sense?
Exactly. And emotion isn't always the enemy if there are fundamentals there, right? So when we talk about emotion, do you think buying based on a feeling, the view, the vibe, or the lifestyle is necessarily a bad thing? Or can emotion sometimes really lead the person to the right kind of purchase?
Oh, absolutely. Emotion is never the enemy, okay? It's just, it can't be your only driver, right? Some of the best buys that I have ever seen, they were emotional purchases, but they also had strong fundamentals. And, I personally have done investments where, I was drawn to it emotionally, and then the numbers also made sense. If the construction quality is right, if the absorption rate is healthy, if the rental demand is strong and the market is stable, well, then that wow moment can become an asset and not a liability. So it just depends on what that ultimate goal is. Okay. The problem is when people ignore red flags because they're dazzled by the turquoise water, the emotion is fine, but just make sure the logic has a seat at the table as well, because you don't want the emotion to overlook the termites eating away at your structure, which I've seen.
So talking about that, exactly, what are the biggest mistakes you've seen in your career that people made when they fall in love too quickly?
Oh my goodness, they rush. They got it. I want it now. I want it now. Look, that mindset is how people overpay by six figures, right? It's an emotional buy, it's a power buy. Look, professionals in this space will take advantage of that emotion. So that's where we're going to keep you straight and make sure that you're not overpaying and that you're not rushing into something that doesn't make sense. We've got to vet this process. That's what matters here, okay? But also they compare emotionally and not financially, okay? They start ranking properties based on which one made them feel fancier, not which one actually performs. Haven't you ever watched those real estate shows you all on TV where it's like, I don't know, buying at the beach, or I don't even know what they're called, but that's exactly what they start talking about. Well, that one had the better view. Oh, but the bedroom was only 5 by 5. Well, come on, you all. Resale value, you've got to start thinking, okay, well, what is somebody going to pay to sleep in a 5 by 5 bedroom, right? And so that's where you have to do those comparisons and what really is going to make long-term financial sense and what a tenant is going to pay for. But also, too, everyone seems to assume that the market's going to bend to their dream, and it's not. The market doesn't care how badly you want the infinity pool, okay? Value is value. And, you might want the jungle view or you might want that cliffside view. But if the house is falling down the cliff, your value's falling right with it.
Right. The market won't adjust itself just because you're excited.
Yeah.
I definitely understood. Now, on the other side, what about the buyers who focus heavily on numbers or too heavily? Can they be overly analytical and actually would cause them to miss out on great opportunities?
Oh my goodness, yes. And I call them my spreadsheet warriors, right? They have to put everything down on the Excel spreadsheet. They've got to analyze it and forwards and backwards and then show me. Look, by the time that all happens, they're missing out on deals constantly. Over analyzing turns into paralysis. By the time you're done running all the different versions of all the numbers on the same pro forma, the property's already gone. Because here's the thing, the best buys do not wait around for you to figure out you're comfortable, okay? The truth is, a property still has to be desirable. It still needs, the soul. Nobody wants to rent or resell something that feels like a tax write-off, right? But also, too, you do need numbers. But if you squeeze the deal so hard that you choke the lifestyle value out of it, you've lost the point of destination real estate. But I see more and more people lose and miss out. And this happens everywhere, not just in luxury global real estate. This happens here in the United States on a commercial deal or on that house that you might consider. The spreadsheet warriors, they miss out all the time.
I can see that happening. Sometimes ROI only buyers really forget that somebody still has to live there or at least enjoy the property.
Mhm.
But I see what you're saying. So, in your experience, what does the ideal middle ground look like? That perfect blend of the emotional satisfaction with the financial logic.
Look, buy something that makes you happy every time you walk in, but it also makes financial sense, even if the market shifts. It may not make the most money, but here's the deal. You love the property. It rents well. It's going to appreciate realistically. You're not dependent on perfect conditions to break even. That's the sweet spot, right? Emotionally satisfying, financially intelligent. Nothing's going to be perfect, and you're not going to get the best of both worlds. But that is going to be the best, and it's going to be even kill. And if you're able to accomplish that, that's magical.
I have a really interesting question that I thought about as well. Do you think geography plays a role in this? And what I mean is, are some destinations naturally more emotional buys while others are more logic driven, or does it just depend on the buyer?
Absolutely. Some countries are emotional buys, right? Now, you will find good financial buys in these countries, but listen, they're emotional as well too, like the Caribbean or coastal Mediterranean, certain parts of Asia. A lot of those markets sell lifestyle first, okay? And then number second, all right? Not always, but again, a lot of times that's what happens. But then you have markets like Panama City, Dubai, where you are, or Lisbon. The buyers show up with the spreadsheets before they ever show up with the sunscreen. Okay. That's what they're looking to do specifically. They are looking to monetize, right? Before they go and lay on the beach. But look, high net worth lifestyle buyers will make an emotional purchase even in a data driven market. And an investor will always crunch numbers, even in a beach paradise. So look, all places geographically can fall into all categories.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some markets sell a feeling and others sell certainty, and that's the
Mhm.
way it is. That's fair. So, for anyone who's watching this, who's unsure of which type of buyer they are, what are the key questions they should ask themselves before they choose a property?
All right. So if the rental market slowed down, would they still be happy owning the property? Okay. That's number one. And because you have to answer that question based on the fact of would you be happy? And also, too, can you afford if the rental market slowed down? Could you afford to still own that property? That's huge, right? So that's number one. That's most important. Two, is my decision based on long term life plans or a moment of vacation fever? Do you want it for the long haul? Or are you just buying it because this year you so happen to like Turks and Caicos, but next year Bahamas is going to be, the place for you. So number two, based on long-term life plans, right? Or short-term vacation fever. Three, does this property make sense not today, but 5 to 10 years from now? Because as you know, buying a property today doesn't mean you're going to turn around and sell it in 12 months and have instant appreciation. You need to hold on to these properties for some time. Okay. That's going to be huge. And so if you can't answer yes to those, then you probably shouldn't be looking for global real estate.
Fair. And that kind of clarity is going to save a lot of people from so many wrong purchases.
Absolutely.
Good. So, we talked about what you should ask yourself before.
Mhm.
Now, right before making that final decision, what are the practical steps buyers can take to balance their emotions with their financial goals?
Also, give yourself a process, right? Start emotional. Identify what you actually want to feel when you're there, right? Do you want to feel like a beach princess? Okay. Do you want to feel your feet in the sand, right? What is it that you want to feel when you are at your property? That's number one. Okay. For me, that varies. And so sometimes if you're lucky enough and you structure yourself enough, then you might need to have a few of these properties, right? Because you want to feel different things. But you have to identify what you actually want to feel when you're at this property. Okay. Then you want to look to us to pull the data, right? We want to look at the rental comps. We want to look at absorption rates. We want to look at the construction quality. And we also want to look at appreciation history because all of those matter for your investment purposes. All right. And then you've got to stress test the deal. Assume that rentals are going to fluctuate. Assume that maintenance costs are going to get higher. They always do, right? So assume the worst. And if that occurs, does the deal still make sense? Because here's the thing you may not, if it didn't make sense because costs went sky high and rental demand went low, you may not be able to just sell it in 3 days' time, right? So you have to have the ability to hold and carry that property. So, what is the stress test around that deal? All right. Now, also, can you walk away from the deal for 24 hours, sleep on it, wake up the next day, and still want the deal, right? That's clarity instead of impulse. And look, in real estate, us real estate brokers, we always want you to commit and buy, buy, buy. But in reality, you've got to make the right decision because I'm smart enough to know that if this isn't the right purchase for you, you're going to have me go and sell it for you. And I've got to be able to be honest with you and make sure that it's ready and can be sold without you losing on the deal. And so that's important. Be able to walk away for 24 hours, sleep on it, and wake up the next day and still want the deal. Does that make sense, Hannah?
I love that. And I love that it gives people an actual process instead of guessing, which I know a lot of people really need and don't have.
Well, and this process, 26 years in real estate, you all, I think I told you this. My degree is not in therapy or psychology, but we do a lot of it here in real estate. Okay. We really get to know people. But here's the thing. This process is simple. It's a process no matter where you're buying and what you're buying. It's the same exact process you should live by. So I'm glad we did this today. Thank you, Hannah, for leading it and asking the questions you did.
Of course, and thank you. Such a valuable insight as always. And for everyone who's watching, please remember that buying property does not have to be emotional or logical. It is the strongest decisions that blend both. And obviously, if you need help finding that balance in whichever country you're exploring next, reach out to us at Airdomo. Stephanie, thank you again. This was really awesome.
Thank you all. See you next Wednesday.
Bye bye.